Today I'm in Chessington World of Adventure, which is part of the Merlin trio around London, made of Legoland, which is pure kids, and the Theme Park, which is clearly moving into the most adrenalinic park in UK. This one is targeting families. It's got a zoo, it's got an aquarium, and it's got quite a lot of attractions. Most of them are for kids, but there is something a bit more intense too. Let's see if this is the best of both worlds, or if it's a compromise which is not making anyone happy. Then in this park they are developing the new Jumanji area, which is going to have 2 flat rides and the world famous winged B&M launched shuttle coaster. It's got everything. And so we're going to see also how the building site is progressing. By the way, it's clearly Mardi Gras, so plenty of artists, and there are going to be shows, themed food, and let's see how the Mardi Gras is implemented here. It's a typical Merlin thing that it's also in Alton Towers and Theme Park in this period of the year. Let's go and have a look. So let's start with the animal part. As said before, this park offers also a zoo and an aquarium. This is a key pillar of the offering because they are pushing a lot the educational part of the park. Therefore, it's not unusual to find lots of school trips during the weekdays in the park. It's kind of really nice because there is a lot of interaction between the guests and the animals. For example, you can feed the birds. And generally speaking, despite I'm not a big fan of zoos and circus or whatever, so I think animals should be in their own environment in the wild. But here you don't see them suffering. Even if they are enclosed, they got a really enhanced environment, and most of them are actually free to roam around, especially the ones in the safari part. So, say that, I kind of liked the interaction between guests and animals, and as I said, I'm not a big fan of animals used as a show, but here I don't think they are suffering. Also, Chessington says they are a conservation area, so they need to follow some protocols and they need to guarantee a decent quality to the animal life. Also, the aquarium part is branded Sea Life, and again, it's kind of nice, and at the end, it's a tunnel under the fish tank, which is quite impressive. So overall, a nice addition to the park, and I think the animal related offering is convincing. Now, we need to put this in context. So, the target is kids, and you can tell by this video, right? So, in terms of attraction, there are lots of attractions for kids. I would say lots of things to do if you are below 1 meter of height. The rides are either some off-the-shelf standard rides, but nicely themed, or a replica of other rides, let's say kiddie version of the grown-up version which is in the park. So kids can actually experience a similar ride to the one their parents are going to ride on, and they don't feel left apart. Generally speaking, lots of rides, nicely themed, nicely put together, and nicely presented. And not only rides, so it's not a park in which the kids are just gonna jump on and off rides, but there are lots of things to do. I said already, the interactive part with animals, but lots of playgrounds as well. There is Go Ape, so the kind of path hanging from the trees in a forest, but also I think 5 or 6 playgrounds. So it's a park in which kids can actually play and do some activities, move, get tired. And so I find these kind of interesting and kind of unusual. So well done. In terms of attractions that could be interesting for grown-ups as well, so keeping in mind this is a park targeting families, so you're not gonna find anything too intense. But there is Vampire, a coaster, inverted, an arrow coaster, which is nice because the theming it's really good. There is a lovely queue and a really interesting station, and finally everything is being restored to the original status. So there is again the animatronics playing the piano in the queue. Nice. Then lots of flat rides which are not too intense, but as a grown-up you're still gonna enjoy them. Part of which is the disco coaster of Zamperla, which is identical to the one just installed in Drayton Manor in the Viking area, which I think it's a really good ride. Then you go others on offer. So there are water rides, there are dark rides, there are things that you can do. For example, the log flume, it's nicely themed and it's in the tiger area. So if you're lucky, you're gonna see real tigers part of the theming, which I think it's once in a lifetime opportunity. Then there is Dragon's Fury, that it's a spinning coaster, quite intense, definitely rough, it's quite old, but again a thrill, intense experience, and probably you're gonna ride it more than once because it's clearly fun. Then you go Croc Drop, which is a drop tower. It's not a free fall tower, so it's a pneumatic tower. Therefore, the drop it's much more smooth than the usual free fall. Then you got Zoofari, which is a safari where you're gonna encounter rhinos and giraffes, and you go on this track all across an interesting path. Then coasters on offer. So you got Rattlesnake, which is again a super rough and kind of a spine breaker coaster, but still worth a ride and kind of fun. Then there is another coaster which is much less intense, and it's a powered family coaster from Mack. It's actually identical to the one in Europa Park, and again nothing special, but why not? It's still fun to ride. Then there are lots of dark rides. One is Gruffalo, which is a water ride completely indoor, and the theming of props and all the sounds and lights are really nice. I really enjoyed this one. I didn't expect such a good quality indoor water ride, but it's really good indeed. And then there is this one, which is a kind of a labyrinth. You do indoor walking labyrinth based on a book. Again, nothing too complex, but nice movies and scenery, so enjoyable. But one of the top of this park is definitely theming. I have to say, I had really low expectations in terms of theming and themed areas, because I know Merlin and I know they're not big on investing a lot of money in theming. But I have to admit that these went far beyond expectations, because the themed area are properly done. Everything makes sense. The attractions are coherent with the theming. The queue lines and the stations are properly themed, and you really feel immersed into that kind of area. So I actually enjoyed and loved the park itself in terms of theming, in terms of soundtracks. So every single attraction has got his own soundtrack, and to be honest, to be a Merlin park, this is actually outstanding. So considering that the target is kids, I think they're gonna appreciate even more the magical experience and atmosphere that you can live and breathe walking around the park. So this one for me was probably the best part of the whole Chessington World of Adventure Park, because I think they've done a really good job, and probably because I wasn't expecting such a level of theming and attention to details that we know that usually it's a weak point for Merlin, especially in Thor Park. Usually the good theming comes only in Legoland parks. Before moving to the flops, a quick update on the building site. So the Jumanji area, which is going to open in 2023, is now shown on the map. It's going to have 2 flat rides and the famous B&M winged launched shuttle coaster. There you go. Now, what are they doing? They clear the area. There is a metal structure which ideally I think is going to be the gorilla, where the spiral of the roller coaster is going to wrap around. They are working on the concrete basements of the coaster pillars, and they also closed the main entrance close to the area, probably because they're doing some works around there, and they have set up the removal of the old bus ride that was there. Okay, now let's move to the flops. I'm gonna just leave this video play while I'm talking so you can realize how long it is. Main flop of the park are operations. Now, we know that Merlin had to revise all the operations after the problem they had in Alton Tower with Smiler, right? And the operations are now super safe, super robust, super strict, whatever. I think, anyway, they are overthinking it. The problem here is that you can see it took them more than 2 minutes to dispatch a train which was already loaded, just because they are completely disorganized. The operations are a complete mess. Looks like they want to be inefficient, and they are on purpose slowing down every single step. They don't preload the gates next to the train, they wait for the train to get into the station, they offboard the train, then they move all the people along the gates, then they open the gates, and then it takes ages to dispatch the train. Now, being malicious, considering they sell fast track, I might think they don't need or they don't want to make it smoother or faster. Also, it's worth mentioning that the crowd is made of kids, usually on school trips, so they are a bit messy, so they are not even helping things to be as quick as we would like. But honestly, coming back from a 3 days in Europa Park, there was a massive gap. Merlin, seriously, you are dispatching a train, you are not sending a rocket to the moon. You cannot take 2 minutes to dispatch a train. That is pathetic. Also, you can see here, so the operators have a key, they need to put the key, spin the key, thumbs up, all of them need to do the same thing to dispatch the train. Just too complicated. Another flop, both the screens at the ride's entrance and the app were showing completely wrong information. So here, Croc Drop said it was closed. It was perfectly functioning and the guests could just onboard the ride. On Dragon's Fury, 25 minutes queue, both on the app and at the gate. Clearly is not. It was actually a walk-on-train situation, and they were actually dispatching empty trains because there were not enough people in the station. Now, considering that this park has got all the rides with a super low hour capacity, and that the operations are miserable, are pathetic, at least would be interesting to have the right information in the app and on the displays, because people are relying a lot on live queues information to just go where the expected waiting time is low. If even this information is not correct, then the whole thing gets a bit messy and is not really a good experience. Well, as per tradition, when I'm visiting a Merlin park, something just breaks down. Here, Vampire was stuck on the chain lift for a good 5 minutes. Again, things can go wrong, but it took them more than 5 minutes to relaunch the train, which was like an eternity. I've done some videos on operations and these breakdowns, so feel free to check the playlist. Another flop, some rides open later and then they kept opening and closing during the day. It might be just an issue of the app though. Say that, the attendance is quite high, the hour capacity of rides is low and operations are crap, therefore in busy days the queues are never ending. Then another flop, Mardi Gras. So typical Merlin implementation, kind of similar to Alton Towers, Store Park, and here in Chessington. I don't get it. I'm not sure if I need these kind of things. So there are shows, there are performances. It actually looks like a bunch of drunken people at I don't know, hen party, dressed up. It doesn't really add anything. I'm not really sure why they are spending money doing those things. Are those things driving more visitors, more guests in the park? I don't think so. Are those things relevant for the experience in the park? Probably not. Now, I do get Halloween, I do get Christmas if they are properly implemented, but flooding the calendar of useless events like Oktoberfest, Mardi Gras, and all those, I really don't see the reason behind it and why they are doing it. I think if Merlin was gonna invest more money in improving operations and improving the quality of the offering, that would be much better. Also, the themed food on offer was not really themed because what are the French crepes to do with Mardi Gras? Merlin knows. So is this park worth a visit? Well, if you are a family with kids, I would say yes. I loved the themed areas, I loved the interaction with animals, and there are good rides on offer, and some of them can offer a bit of thrill. But if you are a thrill seeker, then just forget it. And in any case, pay attention to the day and the expected crowds because it's a park that can get really, really busy. There are lots of videos in my playlist, including POVs. And if you like this video, please subscribe.